Hello, and welcome to Canterbury Cottage. Today is a very special video in recognition of my channel reaching an unbelievable 200,000 subscribers. I'll be answering your most frequently asked questions. But before I get started, I want to take a moment to tell you thank you. Thank you for all your loyal support, all of your likes and lovely comments and shares that have helped to make my channel what it is today. Some of you have been around since the very beginning, 2.5 years ago, and some of you have just joined me recently. But I want you to know that I appreciate each and every one of you. You may be wondering why I am holding a Swiffer duster. And I will tell you, but not until the end of the video. I've got your questions written down in this notebook, so let's get started. I may have to wait until my husband gets home from work to watch the children here. Maury Martin, Madonna Huey, and Ruth Mann all wanted to know if I was crafty as a child. And I would say yes, that I was crafty. However, I wouldn't say that I was exceptionally crafty. I remember that my grandma taught me how to sew with a needle and thread when I was really young. And my mom taught me how to sew on a sewing machine when I was still in grade school. And she also taught me how to embroider. My mom also loved to crochet. And at the time, I was not at all interested in learning how to crochet. But now I really regret that I never asked her to teach me how to do that. Beeline and Lovebug wanted to know how I got into doing DIYs and upcycling. And although I do remember painting a few pieces of furniture when I was in high school, I would say that the DIYs really didn't start until I was in grad school at Arizona State University. I remember there was this fabulous used furniture store on Bell Road, and I pretty much furnished my entire first apartment with things from that store. And that was when I really taught myself how to refinish furniture properly. And that was also the first time that I ever redid a lamp. Melanie Nicholson asks, have I taken any design or art classes? And the answer is no. I studied speech communication and English when I was in college. And so any design or art skills that I have has just been acquired through watching HGTV, reading design books, and looking at design magazines. Laura Green asks, have I always lived in Illinois? And I guess I just kind of already answered that. My husband and I lived in the Phoenix area for 5 years, but we were both originally from Illinois. And so after we were both done with school at Arizona State, then we did move back to Illinois. And that was when we bought our first house. And that was when my DIY skills developed even further, because at that time we were both teachers and we were poor. And so our house was filled with hand-me-down furniture from his parents and my parents, and used furniture that I could find and refinish. And that was also when I taught myself how to hang wallpaper, how to paint over stained paneling. I made curtains for that house. I reupholstered simple furniture in that house. Lots of beginning DIY projects were developed in those early years of our marriage. I had quite a few questions about my teaching career, and I did teach high school English. I also taught a little bit of speech and some drama classes, and I taught for 31 years. And then I took early retirement. Mrs. Patty Dirge asked, why did I leave teaching? And honestly, I took early retirement because I was exhausted from dealing with poorly behaved students. Dealing with discipline issues just really took a lot of the joy out of teaching for me. And I think there are really a lot of similarities with teaching high school students and teaching on YouTube. One of the biggest differences, however, is that I don't have to deal with discipline issues. Chastum 2642 asked, how did my teaching career influence my YouTube career? And I would say actually that the biggest influence was the fact that as a teacher in those early years, we were poor. And so that forced me to be resourceful. So if there was something that I wanted for my house, I had to figure out a way to do it myself and do it cheaply. I remember that I recarpeted our basement stairs in that first little house. And I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And back then, I didn't have YouTube to be able to watch a video and learn from someone else. I just had to figure it out on my own. And I don't know, I thought they turned out pretty good. Probably if I could see those stairs today, I would probably cringe, but at the time I was pretty proud of myself. And so I really do think that even though I certainly didn't enjoy those years when we didn't have extra money for anything really, that those are the years that formed me into the creative person that I am today. And I feel like that if my husband and I had had better paying jobs early in our marriage, that I wouldn't have a YouTube channel today, because instead of making my own curtains, I would have gone out and bought new. And now, even though we are in a much, much better place financially than we were in those early years made me who I am. And honestly, I am a cheap person. And I don't want to spend money wastefully on new things when I know that I can buy used at a fraction of the price and make it exactly what I want. And I think that my house is a reflection of that. I think my house is very unique because you can't just go to Ethan Allen or Home Goods and buy the things that you see in my house. I hope that doesn't sound like bragging, but I am proud of my house. I love my house, and I think it's a real reflection of who I am and where I've been. And I especially love that it's not cookie cutter. It doesn't look like anybody else's house. I also got several questions about inspiration for my DIY projects. Connie Gray asked, do I listen to music while I craft? And no, I don't. I actually mostly watch YouTube videos while I am crafting. I like to see what other DIYers are doing. And obviously, I can't pay really close attention while I'm crafting, but if something really, grabs my attention, then I'll rewind and watch that part over again if I miss something. Bunny Brown and Christine Staley ask, How do I come up with ideas? Do I dream of a project first and look for materials, or do the materials inspire the project? And I would answer both. Sometimes I have an idea. I might have seen something that I want to do, or I might have just gotten an idea and I'm going thrifting specifically looking for items to create that idea. I would say that that happens less often, though. I would say more often, I just go to the thrift store and I buy things that look interesting, things that I think have potential, and I bring it home and figure out later what I'm going to do with it. But I don't always come up with ideas right away either. For example, if you saw the video where I made a wall clock by combining a small mantle clock with a shelf that I had. So I had just bought that mantle clock, but I had thrifted that shelf probably 2 years ago. And when I was looking at the mantle clock, trying to figure out what I wanted to do with it, it just kind of occurred to me that I thought that it was the same width as that shelf. And so I went and grabbed the shelf, and sure enough, it fit perfectly. And that was how that craft came to be. Bonnie Reese also asked, do I know right away how I want to transform a piece, or do I just buy objects I like? And I kind of just answered that. I think most of the time I just buy things that I like, although occasionally I will see something at the thrift store, and as I'm looking at it, I immediately get an idea. But I would say that doesn't happen all that often. I love when that happens, but it doesn't happen very often. The Chicken Charge asked, how do I stay in creative mode? Which is similar to what Sophia asks. How do I keep the inspiration flowing? Do I have periods when I can't come up with ideas, and how do I overcome it? And absolutely, I have dry periods where I just feel like I've completely run out of ideas. I think one of the big differences for me is that YouTube is my job now. And so I know that I have to put a video out every week. And so I can't allow myself to be uninspired. So I just have to go to my craft room and start grabbing things and working through it. So let me see if I can explain how I get myself inspired, how I get myself out of those dry spells. I go to my craft room, I grab something out of my stash, and I begin brainstorming. What can I do with this item? How can I transform this? And maybe the ideas that are coming to me are not especially creative. Maybe the only idea I come up with is an idea that I have done before in a previous video. But if that's all that I've got, then I go with it and I just get started. And almost always, once I get started, then the creative juices start flowing, and I will get some other different and hopefully better ideas. And then once I get that project done, now the creative juices are really flowing. And so I grab something else. And I just feel like that creativity breeds more creativity. And so I think the worst thing that you can do when you don't have any ideas is to sit on your sofa and think, what can I do? You get down there in the craft room and you just start doing. That's my best advice. I also got some questions about thrifting and about my stash. Mary B wants to know, do I shop for supplies? And I'm not sure what you mean by supplies, but I do when I'm at Walmart, I pick up crafting supplies that I think that I might need in the future. Paint, hot glue, dowel rods, those kinds of things. I like to always have those crafting supplies on hand because I hate when I'm crafting and I have to stop and run out and go get something. So I do try to stay stocked on the things that I use most often. Beeline asked, how often do I go thrifting? And it really varies. I have a Goodwill that is 5 minutes from where I live. And so I stop there at least once a week, probably more often twice a week. And then there are some weeks where I will spend a whole day thrift shopping and I will go to the Habitat Restore and I'll go to other Goodwills and other church run thrift stores in my area. So it just really, really varies. Mary B asks, can we get a tour of your stash room? And Mary B, I am going to link 2 videos in the description box where I have shown my craft room and all my supplies that are stored in my craft room. The only thing that I haven't shown in previous videos is that I do have another storage room, and that is where I store larger items like furniture, lamps, wreaths. That's also where I store a lot of my extra paint. And I will try to show that storage room sometime in an upcoming video. And Mary B, a lot of times I get questions about how do you find the description box. So in case you or anyone else doesn't know, all you have to do is click on the title of the video and that will open up the description box. And then you'll have to scroll down or click on where it says more, because there'll be just a description of what the video is about up at the top. But then below that, then you'll find the links for the products that I've used in the video. You'll find the links for the images that I've used. And so that's where I'll link those other 2 craft room videos for you. Christine Smith says that her thrift stores are lousy and wants to know if I have any suggestions. And I do have a few suggestions. Number 1, you have got to stop at the thrift store more often, because even lousy stores will get good donations occasionally. But if you're not there when they put them on the shelves, then someone else is going to buy them. So I would just get in the habit of swinging by, doing a quick walk through a couple different times during the week, and try different times of the day as well. I have found my Goodwill that I mentioned that's only 5 minutes away, they put out a lot of new stock about an hour after they open in the morning. So that is when I try to go, because everybody that's in the store at that time is buying the things right off of the carts and they never even make the shelves. Another suggestion that I have is go to thrift stores whenever you are traveling out of town. I love seeing what stores in other towns have. And my third suggestion is buy the lousy stuff. Just tell yourself, okay, I'm going to the thrift store today and I'm going to come home with 3 things. And then force yourself to buy at least 3 things, the 3 things that you think have the most potential. And then do like I mentioned before, like I do whenever I am struggling with inspiration. Just go to wherever you craft, look at those 3 items, and just begin doing something. Maybe you don't know what it is. You know, maybe you've got something and you know you want to paint it. So paint it. And while you're painting it, maybe another idea will come to you. I bet that it will. So just challenge yourself to see what you can do, even with the junkiest stuff from the junkiest thrift store. Judy G asked, do I ever get overwhelmed with too much stuff everywhere and not enough time? Absolutely. I just mentioned a while ago that I had that one shelf for 2 years before I came up with an idea for it. So I'm very fortunate that I do have this large storage area in my basement. For those of you that aren't lucky enough to have the storage space that I have, I would give yourself a time limit. If you have had something in your stash for a certain amount of time, say 6 months or a year, I would tell myself, I have to use this item today, or I am going to donate it back to the thrift store. And I do donate things back to the thrift store, even though I have a lot of storage. If I've had something in there for a long time and I just think, you know what? I don't think that I'm ever going to use this. And so oftentimes when I go to the thrift store, I will just take a box with me. So I'll pull up to the donation door, give them a box of stuff. Some of it still has the Goodwill tags on it. And then I'll pull around into the front parking lot and go in the store and buy a box full of new stuff. Cecilia Baca of CBB Creations asked, do I work on my channel every day? How is your work schedule? So a typical week would be something like this. Monday morning, I put the finishing touches on my video and upload it into YouTube. And then there's some things that you have to do once you get it uploaded in there, like adding your description and your links and so forth. And then after the video comes out, then I try to answer comments the rest of the evening. So then Tuesday morning, I am brainstorming the theme of my next video if I haven't already got something planned. And then Tuesday is usually the day when I do most of my thrift shoppings. And if I need any particular supplies that I don't have for projects that I have in mind for that week's video. And then Wednesday and Thursday, I craft. And then Friday is video editing day. And then Saturday, I do the voiceover. And then on Sunday, any final touches, final editing, adding in text across the screen, adding in extra little pictures on the screen, that type of thing. Yep, that was 7 days. And my husband can confirm that I do work on my channel 7 days a week. And he really wishes that I could be more efficient. And I do think that I am more efficient than I was 2 years ago, but not significantly so, unfortunately. Angelica G asked, how do I manage to create and post videos while handling all of my other responsibilities and not be exhausted? And Angelica, I would say I am exhausted most of the time, but I'm kind of used to it. As I mentioned, as an English teacher, I was always grading papers in my free time. So I'm used to having a very hectic schedule, and creating videos for YouTube is no exception. I certainly do not have nearly as much time to read and answer comments as I wish I did. I mentioned that I try to answer them on Mondays after the video goes out. But then throughout the week, I am so busy working on the next week's video that I usually only have a few minutes here or there to be able to respond to the comments. And so that's one thing that I really wish I had more time for. Ellen Swartz asked, do I still have a booth? And unfortunately, no, I don't. I kept my booth for about the first year after I started my YouTube channel. And I really enjoyed having the booth, and I hated giving it up, but I was embarrassed because my booth was always empty. I just did not have the time anymore to keep it stocked. And so that was why I gave it up. And that was around the same time then that I started my online store, CanterburyCottageShop.com. And again, my online store is not very well stocked either. However, whenever I have a video that is DIY projects, I generally sell all of those DIY projects in my online store. So somebody else asked about that. Oh, Craft Happy Mama asked, what do I do with my finished projects? So occasionally I will keep one or two of them, but the majority of them are sold on my store. And my videos come out on Mondays at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So if it is a DIY video, those projects will be for sale in my store at that same time at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time on Mondays. So they do sell out really quickly. So if you are interested in buying one of my DIY projects, then unfortunately you really have to go to the store right away at that time on Monday, because usually by Monday evening everything is sold out. Chatty Kathy asked, how long does it take to make particular project pieces? She said she would really like to know when she's watching a video how much time I spent on each of the projects. And I get that. And I can try to estimate how much time that I spend on each project, but honestly, it would just be a guesstimate because I don't work on one project from start to completion and then start a second project and complete it. I am working on all 10 projects for that video at the same time. So while I'm painting this project, the paint on this project is drying, and I'm taking this lamp apart. And so that's one of the reasons why I don't mention how long it takes to do the projects, because I don't really know. Okay, I saved some of just kind of the miscellaneous questions for the end. X Giancana X asked, how's my cat? And I am guessing that Giancana, I'm sorry, I know I'm not pronouncing that right, is asking about my cat because she knows that we just got a puppy as well. And Zoe, my cat, is doing well. She has accepted the puppy. She does not love him yet. She still hisses at him on a daily basis, but she is definitely interested in him. And it's added, I think, a little bit of interest and excitement to her life. Flora Day Interior asked, what style of decor did I like before English Cottage? And honestly, looking back on it in retrospect, I loved English Cottage design even as a child and as a teenager. However, that is not to say that in the 1990s I did not embrace the whole country vibe, the slate blue, the mauve pink, the geese on everything, the cutout hearts on furniture. I was, all about that country look. But I think basically I have always just been attracted to some variation of a traditional style aesthetic. Madonna asked, what was my favorite thing that I did in Ireland? And actually, I loved everything that I did in Ireland, but probably my favorite thing was a pub that we went to. It was called Johnny Fox's Pub, and it was out in the country outside of Dublin. And it was exactly what you imagine an Irish pub would be. It was so cute on the outside. There were sheep grazing in the field right next to the pub. The pub was filled with old antiques, and they had live Irish music playing. It was just totally a scene out of a movie. Denise 2571 asked about the best apps for resizing images, and I do everything on an iPad. So I use the Resizer app if I need to adjust the ratio between the width and height without distorting the image. So that's a great app for doing that. Then I use the app Print to Size and get it exactly the size that I want. And that is the app that I print from. Super easy to use. Super easy to use. And while I'm talking about the images, I wanted to mention when I have the links for my images in the description box, it takes you to a free site where I can share those images with you. But sometimes spam pops up, and I'm not happy about that. And I'm in search of a different photo image sharing platform to use. But some viewers have commented that they're clicking on something and it is asking them to pay. And I don't know what it is that you're clicking on. I've never personally seen this, but my images are always free. So do not pay for anything, because if you're paying, then you are not on the image sharing app anymore. So I hope that is helpful. Oh, I almost forgot the Swiffer duster. So I would say the number one question comment that I get on videos is, how do I keep my house dusted? And this is the answer. These things actually work really well and will keep dust from accumulating on your decor. The only time that I actually wipe things down and really wipe down shelves or surfaces is when I am rearranging decor. Now, granted, I probably rearrange decor more often than most people, but this little duster is your friend if you want to have a maximalist home full of things that you love. They really do work. Well, I'm going to end this video now because I am sure it is too long. And if you are still here, thank you. And if you have been here traveling this YouTube journey with me for 2.5 years, thank you, thank you, thank you. 200,000 subscribers is beyond my comprehension, and it is beyond my wildest dreams. And I just want each and every one of you to know how very much I appreciate you today and every Monday. So take care, and I will see you next week. Bye-bye.